5. How's that tone?
Perfect.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you for being here today. One of my reasons for running for Congress is to fight the extremism and hyper-partisanship that's dividing our country right now. For over 6 months, we have seen a Republican senator protest the Department of Defense policy he disagrees with by blocking hundreds of military promotions and appointments. Currently, the Army, Navy, and Marine Corps only have acting officials who do not have the full authority to maintain their services' readiness. Next month, the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff will retire, and that position will remain unfilled. Our adversaries abroad are taking notice. They see this one man attacking our men and women in uniform with his hold on promotions. The blockade on appointments is holding the Pentagon in place, preventing it from conducting long-term planning and training. This type of planning and training is necessary to maintain our superiority over our adversaries for the next decade plus. With China's military constantly expanding, we need our military at full capacity to keep our nation and our citizens safe from foreign threats. Let's be clear. This is not a Biden policy going too far left with overwhelming objection from conservatives. This is one senator taking it upon himself to erode the bipartisanship approach the U.S. Senate has historically afforded the U.S. military, so we can keep our nation safe from foreign threats. This blockade on military promotions is a prime example of why the American people are losing faith in our institutions. One person is hijacking the United States military for the sole purpose of proving a petty political point. Today, I call on all Republicans to help end his blockade of military promotions and to stop putting our nation at risk. Thank you very much. Thank you for being here. I'll take some questions.
Gary, the
Just tell me, who's the person you're talking about?
Who's the person I'm talking
The
about?
senator.
Republican senator from Alabama.
Has he got a name?
Tuberville.
Right.
the United States Marine Corps had gone through a very, I wouldn't call it challenging, but a dramatic reorganization in its approach to war under the previous Marine Corps Commandant, who was among, I believe, the first to retire in this situation. And since then, the Marine Corps Commandant, that critical role in this critical transition isn't taking place. As a Marine, because we all know that there's no such thing as a former Marine, right? As a Marine, can you speak to this transition and how it's left the United States Marine Corps force ready?
Well, I thank you for the question. We have an acting official right now. It's the former Assistant Commandant of the Marine Corps, who's been nominated, but quite frankly has not been, quite frankly, sworn in to take his post. So he has some authorities, but I do not believe he has all authorities, and you need that as the head of your service, and that includes the Navy and the Army as well.
Mr. Leonard, why is this issue important to you?
This is important. I consider myself, one, I'm running, as I said up front, is I do not like the extremism that I see in our country right now on both ends of the political spectrum. And I want to bring I want to be a force of moderation. I want to be a force of unity. And that's why I'm speaking out on this issue right now. I also consider myself, after 30 years of service, an expert, if you will, on foreign policy and national defense.
You described Mr. Tuberville's stand on this as a petty issue, but you know what's behind the issue is his stance on abortion. What's your stance on it?
I've spoken on this many times. Rhode Island codified into law in 2019 its own abortion laws, and I am not going to Washington, D.C. to focus on something I can't affect. That's a state right, and I am going to Washington D.C. to focus on things I can actually change, which would be things like the economy. We need to fix it. It's obvious, I think, to all of us that Bidenomics is not working for working families.
Well, he seems to feel that allowing military personnel to travel from one state to another to achieve an abortion shouldn't be allowed. What's your feeling?
I have full faith in our military leadership to do what they believe is the right thing to do for our morale and readiness. So I absolutely believe in the leadership, and they haven't proven us wrong in the history of our country. So I let them lead their service the way they see fit.
Where does this put Senator Tuberville?
And the reason I'm speaking out today, I think we're talking about something that's extreme right now, and it affects our national readiness, it affects our national security, and we need to address it.
So extreme to move you to break Ronald Reagan's first commandment of being a Republican is now not speaking ill of a fellow Republican.
And so that is Ronald Reagan's, but I will tell you, Ronald Reagan also occasionally would speak, I wouldn't say negatively, but John Chafee spoke his own mind in Washington D.C. when he was our senator. That's what I intend to do as our representative down in D.C.
There's a way around this poll, which is to vote individually on all officers that are in line for promotion and Senate approval. I mean, do you think they should go that route, or what's it going to take to break this logjam?
I just think it's going to take all of us on both sides of the aisle for speaking up and always putting our national security first. That's what it's going to take.
Question. Right now, the hearings are ongoing for senior positions in the United States Navy and the United States Army as well. And these are higher mid-level positions. So you've got this sort of logjam taking place. As someone who was engaged at a high level in the Marine Corps, what impact does this have on those folks whose life and career plans are effectively on hold?
That's a great question, and let me answer this, because I've been talking about those folks, the military folks that haven't been promoted, or their promotions have been held up. But this also has a devastating effect on the families. If a spouse right now left her job 6 months ago, or his job 6 months ago, anticipation from deploying somewhere else in our nation or around the globe, they're sitting on the couch right now. If typically in the military, we try to do our moves in the summertime so students and kids can start school in the new school year, that's being prevented right now. So it has a devastating effect on the morale of our service.
This affects all four service chiefs.
It
I mean, they're all held up, right? They're all open, or will be soon.
will be soon, and to include the chairman. So I know the Marine Corps right now is an acting commandant.
So, does this affect military readiness or military preparedness?
This is the wonderful thing about our United States Senate historically has been bipartisan on our approach to national security and for our military.
And this abrogates them?
It's absolutely affecting our national security. And that's why I'm speaking out today. And I believe from where I sit, I have, with the 30 years of experience in the military, the ability to go ahead and speak that.
Respectfully, you're running for an office that has no say in this.
But as you heard me say at the very end, all Republicans, and quite frankly, all Republicans and Democrats need to speak up right now. And we need to focus on putting our nation first, and we need to talk about that from a national security lens. I appreciate your time. Thank you all for being here today.
Thank you.